Welcome again to this Family for Every Child online event, and thank you so much for joining us for this exciting launch of our new toolkit, Supporting Integration, a toolkit for practitioners working with children and young people on the move. My name is Ron Gutierrez. I'm the Clinical Director at Legal Services for Children in San Francisco, California, the United States. And Legal Services for Children is also a member of the Family for Every Child Alliance. I will be the moderator for today's event. In the interest of welcoming you all, it'd be great if you can add your name, your job title, your organization, and your location to the chat box so we can all see where you're joining us from and what organization you're representing. Once everyone has done that, I'd also like you to invite you to complete the poll, which will pop up on your screens now. Just a little background information on Family for Every Child for those of you who don't know us. Family for Every Child is an alliance of 46 civil society organizations in 38 countries. We have goals around preventing family separation, strengthening families, ensuring high-quality alternative care when needed, and protecting children outside of any care. Our members have a rich and unique understanding of the situation for children and families in local contexts, as well as potential solutions and effective interventions for improving children's care. As a global alliance, we work to ensure that more children can grow up safe and protected in families and be provided with quality alternative care when needed. I'd like to introduce our panelists for today. With us, we have Valentina Fabbri. Valentina is an expert in immigration and international protection law, and since 2011, she has been president of Programma Integra in Italy. Programma Integra is a social enterprise nonprofit association whose aim is to contribute to the well-being and development of an inclusive community through interventions and services in the social, educational, and psychological fields. We'll also hear from Claire Deery. Claire Deery is a lawyer and is chairwoman of the Lower Saxony Refugee Council and sits on the advisory board of the Refugee Law Umbrella Organization. She also has a teaching position at the University of Kassel in Germany as the chair of social work. We'll also hear from Srebrina Efremova. Srebrina is head of Project and Advocacy Department of For Our Children Foundation in Bulgaria. She has a key role in building and maintaining long-term international partnerships of the organization, such as Family for Every Child, Alliance Partnership for Every Child, and the global network, the Human Safety Net. Srebrina is managing the partnership with the International Rescue Committee, which is FOC's key partner for developing Mission Ukraine in Bulgaria. She is responsible for managing the activities in the spaces and women and girls' safe spaces built according to the standards of the IRC. And we'll also hear from Jonathan Blagbrough. Jonathan is Senior International Program Advisor at Family for Every Child, where he leads on the Children on the Move and Children in Conflict with the Law portfolios, as well as research. So let's go through the agenda for today's event. Jonathan will give some background to the development of the integration toolkit and run through some of its key components and content. We'll then hear from our other three panelists, Valentina, Claire, and Srebrina, who will share some experiences and good practices from their work on integration of children on the move in their respective countries, as well as talk about the big challenges that still remain in this area. After this, we'll have a short question and answer session where you can ask panelists any questions. We ask that you post your questions in the Q&A box throughout the session. You'll see that at the bottom of the Zoom screen. In closing, I will give you some brief information on the plans for expanding on the toolkit and let you know how you can be involved in the conversation as it continues over the coming year. So I'll hand it over to our first speaker, Jonathan, to give a brief overview of the toolkit. Jonathan, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Ron, and welcome everyone from me. I'm delighted to be able to present on the toolkit to you here today. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Globally, children are moving across borders in record numbers. Across many contexts, including Europe, the increase in child migrants has been a real challenge to practitioners. In response, from 2020 to 2023, Family for Every Child, funded by Comic Relief, embarked on applied research using a range of collaborative and participatory methods with the aim of developing practitioner-focused tools to support unaccompanied refugee children and other child migrants arriving in Europe. Steered by an interagency group of civil society organisations, supported by academics and governed by an ethical protocol and COVID-secure processes, we began a Europe-wide review of integration-focused evidence. We also gathered perspectives directly from unaccompanied children, their caregivers, and support workers from the destination and transit countries of Germany, Greece, and Lebanon. Using the photo voice participatory action research method, we also gained further in-depth insight from children and young people. These experiences are showcased in our Childhood on the Move virtual gallery, which you can find on Family for Every Child's website. While the resulting resource is built on Europe-focused experience, we're really hopeful that the model and concepts that it contains are adaptable to a global audience. Indeed, over the next year, we have plans to expand on this and on the theme of integration to gather more practitioner experience and to build on the resources on this issue from across the world. Updates and information on our plans will come through our Caring for Children on the Move community space, which you'll hear more about at the end of the webinar. The guidance that we have that is up on the slide is currently available in English, Italian, German, Greek, and Spanish, and soon in French and Bulgarian. Next slide, please. The toolkit is built around a model of integration which contains 6 dimensions, which we need to consider in supporting a child or a young person in a holistic way, taking into account that he or she has a past, has motivations and pressures that influence their behaviour and what they want for the future. These dimensions are foundations. These are the child's formative experiences, like their family situation, an experience of separation, loss, and abuse in their place of origin, and how these experiences might affect them where they are now. It also looks at autonomy, which is the extent to which the child can make choices and make decisions. The third dimension is around the environment surrounding the child, including housing, education, health services, and employment opportunities. The extent of the child's social connectedness and the quality of these relationships in communities of origin, transit, and destination are the subject of the 4th dimension. And dimension 5 looks at the child's own strengths and resources, in other words, their personal capacities. And finally, sustainability, which we define as the child's investment in where they are, their competencies and goals and ideas for the future. Within each dimension, there are key actions and considerations highlighted, as well as a practitioner toolbox containing tips, resources, and practice examples. The toolkit also takes a deep dive into the cross-cutting approaches of guardianship, mentorship, and peer-to-peer support. Next slide, please. Thank you. In my final slide, I just wanted to to showcase some of the experience of young people, and also wanted to say that practitioners are often not given the opportunity to step back and reflect on their daily practice, nor provide in-depth feedback on new resources designed to help them. So with this in mind, our co-creation process led us to consult with 77 frontline staff in 6 locations in Greece, Italy, and Germany, as well as conducting recommendation workshops with 71 children and young people experiencing migration across Lebanon, Italy, and Greece. What you see here is a summary of their priority asks of practitioners in supporting them, including around the need for information, to be listened to be protected, and to be treated with respect. The continuing hostility we're seeing manifested towards migrants both above and below the age of 18 in Europe and in other regions threatens to set back implementation of progressive practice towards migrant children and youth. We believe that creating space and resources to highlight practitioner experience and good practice plays an important part in counterbalancing this and in supporting better care for children and young people in difficult situations, wherever they're from. Thank you. And back to you, Ron.
Thanks so much, Jonathan, for that outline of the toolkit and also for your thoughts on how we can use this and the feedback and development with practitioners. So now we're going to move on to our 3 panelists who will talk about some best practices in their work on supporting the integration of children on the move. We'll begin with Valentina, who along with Claire was involved in the development of this toolkit. Valentina, please.
Hi, hello everybody. Thank you, Ron, and thank you, Jonathan, for your words. So we were one of the 3 organizations that test the toolkit in the reality. And I want, as we are from all over the world, I would like to make you a little bit more close to the reality that we live. So the organization that I represent is named Programma Integra, and we work in Rome, Italy, the middle of Europe, and our aim is the promotion of the social and economic inclusion of vulnerable people. Trying to share with you what we mean for social inclusion and vulnerable people, I created these 2 boxes because it's really efficient to make clarity on the terms that we want to use when we help people. So the social inclusion is a process that ensures citizens have the opportunities and resources necessary to participate fully in economic, social, and cultural life, and to enjoy a standard of living and well-being that is considered normal in the society in which they live. So some words are really strong, like normality, participation, have the opportunities, and everything is not so given also in European Union, and so it's really important, and the European policy are really concentrate on these terms and how to make better conditions for migrants that come in Italy, especially the more vulnerable ones, as minors, unaccompanied minors, disabled people, elderly people, pregnant women. So all these people that only with their means, they could not go further in the social inclusion. So they live in a condition of social vulnerability. The term of social inclusion that we use can be assimilated with the terms of integration that is really used when we speak about people on the move that are here in Europe, and so about the migrants that live here in Europe. So the integration is the terms that we try to conjugate also in the toolkit, giving all the aspect of the integration, because make the integration come true is really hard. Because if we can go with the next slide, because even if we try to provide whatever can be needed by people once they arrive, it's really hard to see and to really say that they are integrated in our society. So thinking about the best practices that we try to implement each day in our daily job, for sure we give to unaccompanied minors that come here in Italy alone by themselves, first reception, giving them the first things that they need, a house, a place to stay in a safe in a safe manner the possibility to start again their life in Europe and in Italy. Then after the first reception, we have to provide them a large number of services in order to make them close to the society where they are called to live. So Italian classes, work counseling, work experience, training experience, and also our support to make them able to be on their own foot and to go alone in their autonomy. And then we try to make integration through activity that can connect hosting society with unaccompanied minors and migrants, like mentoring activities that are just an example of what we can do in order to connect migrants and citizenship that lives in our cities. And the mentoring activities are all those activities that try to create a couple of people that can make a path on their life together in order to help each other, in order to stay together and to teach to those that maybe are newcomers how to live better in our society and in our city. Of course, it's really hard to see if all the tools that we put in place give really the possibility to be included in the society. And this is why also we wanted to implement this toolkit in order to give the answer for those that maybe are in the first line working with minors, in order to give good instruments, learning by our experience on how to make integration more effective. But still, we need to face challenges that, of course, are always on the place. If we can move to the next slide. And I put that on a kind of podium because the third one, in order of appearance, is one that really we can do better, is to better the connection with the family of origins, because we always understand how it's hard to be sure when they call home, if the home is a proper home, if the home is a safe home, so we can for sure implement a strategy of connection with the family of origins that make the children and the young on the move feel still part of the family. Then the second challenge that we face is the really difficulties in helping them to become in the age of majority, because you are 17 since until a perfect day, and then the day after you are an adult, and you face a lot of problem concerning to what our society can provide to you because you are an adult. So this transition is not so fixed for everyone, and so we can really do better in helping them to make this passage that is not only one day, it's not just the date of your birth, but it's something that you must understand in yourself. You must grow up by yourself. And then the first thing that is really frustrating, but we want to try to scale, is improving their integration to make them realize their dreams. Because often when unaccompanied minors come in Italy, we have big fluxes from Tunisia, Egypt, Albania, and Bangladesh as well. They do not have the time to make them think about their dreams, and the only things that they ask to us is a job, is a work, to send money home or to gain money. So what we wanted to try and we would like to do is helping them to dream again, because at the end they are only 17 years old that need to rebuild their family, rebuild their connection, and then starting back to dream. So this is what we can do better, and we hope that the toolkit could be, and it is already been for us implementing it, a way to reflect, because we don't have time to reflect, like Jonathan said before, on this concept that make us pose our attention on each single children that we follow. Thank you. I pass to you, Ron.
Thank you so much, Valentina, for sharing the experiences in Italy and specifically of Programma Integra and the work you're doing to actualize integration for young people and the challenges that you face. And again, bringing you back to that close with the dreaming, what are those dreams and the desires of young people to leave their home country and, go somewhere unknown and, learn everything all over. So thanks so much. Next, we'll hear from Claire Deery and her experiences in Germany. Claire, please.
Can others hear Claire? Claire, are you in the English channel?
I'll try again. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'll start again. So I'm joining you here from Germany, and I think Germany is most of the time the country a lot of refugees are looking to go to. So I think the toolkit is also a very good instrument to actually show minors and children on the move what will actually happen on the reception side arriving in Germany. We have a project called Kenne deine Rechte, which basically means Know Your Rights project. Can I see the next slide, please? The Refugee Council I work for campaigns for all refugees, and we also, like our Italian partners, look at the most vulnerable people, but our projects are very widely spread. So we'll look at the next slide to see what we do. So we have different projects, and we look at the living situations, especially with the unaccompanied minors. We have a special facility where they are housed and then they are actually educated. But we also have seen big problems schooling. So a lot of schools at the moment are not able to accept children. So there's a long waiting list. So that's a big problem. The next problem is also the access to the labor market. And also, of course, the big worry of most of the children is the right to stay, which obviously they are granted until they are 18. And as Valentina presented, and then there's a big birthday present when they're 18 to see how it goes on. Also, we have a big campaign for the right of family reunion, and I'll come to that on one of the next slides. So let's look at the next slide. Well, my job today is to reflect on the most important findings we had in the research, and also to see how the practitioner guidance and toolkit can help us in our daily work. The challenges we face with unaccompanied children in Lower Saxony are quite widespread. We're quite a big country, so most of the time the minors are unhappy because they are living in the middle of nowhere. So the key is to find schools and to find families and to find to actually give them access to information. So I also think the toolkit is very good because it's digital, so they will be able to look at it and see and look for addresses and help, but also the caregivers, which we will look at on the next slide. They need big qualifications at the moment. Germany is just implementing at the moment 2 very big law packages concerning a lot of very tough changes because they want to start deporting more people back to their home countries. So there is a big movement in Germany. A lot of, I counted them, 17 different laws have been changed within the last 8 years. So they all concern migrants. So if you talk to caregivers which have studied social work or are working in that field, they need a lot of legal updates. And obviously, of course, the minors and the children we're looking at. Our big hope is, and we're actually quite good at campaigning that at the moment, is to say that youth welfare doesn't end with the 18th birthday, and it should go on until the 21st at least. We have one very good law in Germany that says that if you go to school for 3 years and you're under 27, you have the right to stay for 2 years. So that is a really good motivation tool to get people who turn 18 to stay in school, because if they go to school for 3 years, they'll have the right to stay. So that's why, and it used to be until 21, and now a new law has been implemented that it is allowed until 27. So I think that is something that is actually quite good and motivating for all of us to get children to stay in education and not to maybe start working because they have the feel and the need that they have to maybe send money back to their family or to provide for themselves. So that's also a big key to keep them in education. The word UMAs is unaccompanied minors in German. Sorry if you don't understand the name on the slide. And we noticed, as I said, that a lot of young adults fall out of the system because legally they don't have to be in special care when they turn 18. So then you have to kind of help them to age out of the system and to get enough help. The next slide, please. So, of course, as an NGO, we say independent counselling is key and necessary to point out also the differences with the asylum law. and also with the right to stay, which we'll call the limbo years, because Germany takes a long time to decide on asylum cases. Average would take about 4 to 6 years until they get their decision. So that makes them really unsettled and unhappy. And also it's really tough on people who want family reunification, because you are only granted a visa to collect your mother or your siblings if you're, first of all, under 18, and if you have got a positive answer. So if you're looking at least 4 years of waiting to get an answer, it's quite a difficult situation for people turning 18. And of course, we have a very honest approach of balancing all this, also the pressure that this causes, and also that the results have to, do we try and motivate people not to make up fake IDs, because especially with young minors, we have the problem of guessing their age, which Germany also likes doing. So they might guess someone a lot older. So that's always a big problem that we face. Next slide, please. Yes, let's look at the family reunification. So obviously, if we're talking to caregivers and all the people providing care for young children, we do try and have a talk about, okay, can we put it in the plan that they want to see their family, that they want to get their family here, and they want to stay in contact with their family. And for these people, as I said, the first aim is to get a positive reaction from the asylum office. As I said, that takes a long time. And so hopefully the person we're talking about is not 18 yet when it gets a positive decision, because if it's under 18, you are legally allowed to get your family here. We have a special project concerning Afghanistan at the moment, and it's just really tough on the young minors because there is no embassy working in Kabul at the moment. They have to try and get to Pakistan. It's really dangerous. The Pakistanis are not being nice at the moment. So it's just a lot of stress we face, and young minors then falling out of school, not being able to concentrate, not being able to sleep, and not feeling well. So there is the possibility of family reunification. That is possible in Germany, also for people with subsidiary protection. But as I said, what we see, the most important thing is that we have to make sure that they don't turn 18, or at least that they have put everything in place that when they turn 18, they're still allowed to get their family here. So the toolkit will help to show that the best practice in Germany is to have not just a caregiver for every minor, but also alongside that, someone who gives legal aid in these special family reunification cases. So that's something that we are implementing. So yeah, so if you want to get in contact, I just put our email address there if you have any further questions. Thanks a million.
Thanks so much, Claire, for giving us an overview of the situation for young people in Germany, and for really highlighting the nuances of how the law can impact young people and their families, and how important it is to advocate for young people in those areas. Next, we will hear from Srebrina, who will talk about the work of For Our Children in Bulgaria. Srebrina, please.
Hello to everyone from Bulgaria. So nice to be here and to present the Mission Ukraine program before such a huge auditory. So maybe some background about Bulgaria for those of us who are very, very far away. In terms of the Mission Ukraine, of the Ukrainian war, it's good to know that geographically we are very close to Ukraine. We were one of the countries that started to host refugees. A lot of refugees went through Bulgaria. So the other important thing is that we have deep roots, common roots with the Ukrainian people. So they are not so strange. They're not strangers in Bulgaria. And now some words about For Our Children Foundation. For 30 years, For Our Children Foundation has been supporting the most vulnerable children and families in Bulgaria. Our work is focused mainly on children between 0 and 7 years here in Bulgaria. We were among the organizations that started the deinstitutionalization process in Bulgaria, the foster care, and the new standards for residential care for children in Bulgaria. For the last 30 years, the foundation has supported more than 22,000 children, their parents, and specialists working in the field of early childhood development. 2020 was a challenging year for us, not only because we needed to start the Mission Ukraine program, but also because we opened our second complex for early childhood development in Plovdiv, which is the second biggest city in Bulgaria. The Mission Ukraine program started immediately after the start of the war and was set as an emergency response. At the beginning, the most important thing was to support our colleagues in Ukraine that are part of the Alliance Partnership for Every Child, which we also participate in. We started to provide, we initiated a campaign, a fundraising campaign. We had the support from Family for Every Child, from International Rescue Committee, to provide the first part of the humanitarian support, and after that the other sets of services for refugees who came here in Bulgaria. Now, our Mission Ukraine program consists of 14 members. 12 of them are Ukrainian refugees themselves. You see the numbers for the last year. We supported more than 1,600 people in more than 400 families. 715 children received specialized support under our Mission Ukraine program, which means physical rehabilitation, speech therapy, music therapy, by the way, one of the best services that they're seeking, medical gymnastics, and other specialized services in the complex for early childhood development. 145 women and 130 children received dignity kits. This was something new for us because we are speaking about humanitarian support. We have these packages here in Bulgaria for our usual users, but dignity kit was something new for us, and it was methodology from International Rescue Committee. I mean, they provide us with the knowledge how to set this dignity kit apart from the humanitarian support. Now the Mission Ukraine continues. We have our activities with children in child-friendly spaces. We are continuing with the social workers support and cultural mediation for families, mainly mothers alone with their children. We are continuing to organize group activities, recreational activities in women and girls safe spaces. But now, 2 years later, we see that the needs of the target group are changing. And if we can, the future, so we try to shape the future of the Mission Ukraine program and see that there is a need for more integrational services. And we started to organize mixed groups at our complexes for early childhood development with children from Ukraine and Bulgarian children. We are continuing with the social workers and cultural mediator support, which are crucial for the for the first year, first days in a new country, because yes, our languages are very close. We're using Cyrillic, but when you need to fulfill some requirement or some document, you need the social worker and the cultural mediation. The humanitarian support continues for new families that are arriving in Bulgaria. And we started with the school preparation activities in child-friendly spaces, which are activities that prepare very young children to enter a new educational system, because our Bulgarian educational system is different from the educational system from Ukraine. So the toolkit, if I can finish with the toolkit, will be a great instrument for the frontline workers of the Mission Ukraine program, because now they're doing most of the activities by intuition. So they know that they need to provide a safe space because they are refugees themselves. They're aware of some of the children's rights, but they need this structure to be more effective in the work with the target group. So it's a great opportunity for us to be on board with the toolkit. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Srebrina, and thanks to all our panelists for sharing your thoughts about the toolkit and the complexities impacting your regions. So just quick overview. So we heard from Jonathan, provided overview of the toolkit. And for me, what stood out are the dimensions of the toolkit and just having a framework for what does integration look like, especially along those dimensions. We heard from Valentina, who talked about the challenges in Italy of actualizing integration with just every aspect, language, education, etc. Claire shared just some of the challenges with the legal system, long wait times for asylum claims to be heard and decided upon, and just the changing landscape of the law, which I think impacts every area. Certainly here in the United States, laws change all the time, and one needs to be aware of these changes to properly advocate for the young people we're working with. And we heard from Srebrina, and specifically Mission Ukraine, and the challenges faced there by supporting refugees who've been impacted by invasion and armed conflict. So certainly we're all impacted differently. So right now we have some time set aside for questions for our panelists. So actually we have a little over 15 minutes, or about 10 minutes actually, to hear from anyone who wants to contribute a question. Please type in your question or any comments you have in the question and answer box at the bottom of the Zoom screen. It'll say Q&A, and we'll try and get to those right now. And while you're submitting questions or comments, let's give the panelists a question. So first, for Claire, Srebrina, and Valentina, how do you see yourselves actually using this toolkit as a practitioner, as an organization, and what aspects of the toolkit do you find most useful in supporting children and young people? So feel free to jump in.
I break the ice. Okay, so I think that the toolkit is really a good chance to reflect on what we missed. And it will continue to be like that. And it will also inspire the work of the social operators, educators, social services assistants that work with us in order to take information about the tips that we gave inside the toolkit, because the toolkit is not only theory, but it's a consistent part in each paragraph on what has been done and what can be taken and what can be used to make better our each day job. And so I think that even if something is really common to other toolkit, the way that it has been done, and also because it's so specific for unaccompanied minors, that it's really an issue here in Europe, because it's something that really concerns government, local municipality, and of course social operators. It can be something that can be used easily in what we do. Of course, we must be really good in making it easy for those that want to use it. So translation and also easy things to see and to immediately understand, but it's the good way to do that. So this is as I feel when I think to the toolkit.
I'll just hop on. I also think, and I'm already doing it, and the organization Refugee Council is basically the go-to place if you need information. So the toolkit is like a big pool of information. So I'm just really happy that I have something that obviously I'm very proud of, and I think it's so helpful that I can point out, and it's also translated in German, so I can give it to people phoning us up, sending us emails, asking for specific questions, and then I can point out there's a special part in the toolkit, you can read it up and you can see, and I think that alone is something that really helps. And then also always checking again, okay, what are the questions that are asked, what are the problems that minors are facing, and are they in the toolkit, and is there anything new, anything best practice we can add? So I like that it works both ways.
And I will say again that the toolkit will give the frontline workers a framework how to work with this specific group. For us, it is a new and specific group for our Children Foundation. But also, I think that it will support us with the communication and, by the way, empowerment of the external stakeholders of the foundation. Because in Bulgaria, there are not, even institutions are not prepared to work with minors and to work on unaccompanied minors and with refugees as a whole.
Thanks so much, Valentina, Claire, and Srebrina. I see we have one, actually we have I'll read the first question from the Q&A box. And I think this is for Srebrina. So can you explain what is included in the Dignity Kit for migration?
Yeah, the Dignity Kit is a set of things that you need, especially for women. I mean, sanitary napkins, for example, soap, toothbrush, toothpaste, and these things that keeps your dignity.
Thank you for that explanation, Srebrina. So I'm going to present the next question to the panelists and see if you have a response. This is a tough one. So how practical is the toolkit in dire situations like what is happening in the Middle East today? Would anyone like to take that on? Valentina, please.
Yes, because it's when we speak about minors, I think that it's always been the concerns of for us that we work with minors directly in our specific context. We don't work in a crisis context. So what we do is trying to make people be settled in our society, in our daily situation, that is a situation of social and economical condition. So for sure, the foundation about the receiving of unaccompanied minors who leave their houses and try to have better future somewhere else can be shared also in crisis situation. But it would be really, I don't know if the panelists share with me this vision, it could be really it's too high to think that it can be helpful in situation like the Middle East today, because where they start from another point of view, that is the survival. We are talking about how to have a good and decent life in another context when you are alone and you are a minor. So it's really something that unfortunately maybe cannot give a full answer or an answer to this kind of crisis situation. I don't know if you agree with me.
Sure. Do any of the panelists want to provide a response? Thank you, Valentina, for that explanation.
Yeah, as I said, I think it's as a reception country, it's you can't compare it to where to a country where a crisis is going on and children need immediate help. So I just think it's the toolkit is something for the future, basically for a region that is in crisis. Yeah, so but obviously people will flee out of conflict areas all over the world, and then they will arrive at a certain area or a certain country, and then that's what the toolkit is for. And it's not, we didn't base it on a certain country, it can be used in every country.
Thank you, Claire. Srebrina, any response to that question about how the toolkit might be used in a situation such as the Middle East?
I totally agree with Claire and Valentina. It's a different level of thinking when you're speaking about integration, not for survival.
Thank you. So I'm going to go to the next question, which is for Valentina. Can you please explain a little bit more what you mean by creating a better connection with families? And also if others want to share, but that we'll start with Valentina.
Yes, thank you for the question. And it was on the slide of the challenges. So it's really something that we want to do better, because when you receive first sight a minors, because when a minor is in the street, everyone that meets this minor must resign the minors to public authority in order to give them the chance to enter in a reception system and to be under the tutelage of the legal part of the local municipality. So after that, the operators that receive the minors leave the connection to the family to him. So he's free, of course, to call them, to speak with them in the language they speak usually, and it's not said that the operators understand what they say. What can be done, and I don't know if it will be so easy or so immediate, and we didn't experience this part, it try to guide the first connection with the family via Zoom, via online session, in order to also to be close to the family of the minors and to have a better representative of the family for the minors. Because what happens is that when you arrive, when you are 17 years old, you really do not respect the educators that comes to the place and decide or ask you to do something. So it would be really necessary to create a kind of team working with the family in order to keep on growing up the children on the move, the young people that is alone. So we didn't focus our job on that, because it's not always easy, also because the minors come and go, because the 18 years old arrive really fast, and so we don't have time to promote all the activity. But it's something that we would like to work on better, and not left all this situation in the end only of the minors, but be part of this process of communication. Could be helpful for the minors, for the family, and also for the educator that must keep on looking after the unaccompanied minors. So we don't have a practical example to give to you in our daily job, but we would like, we can imagine how we would like to do that.
Thank you, Valentina. Claire, Srebrina, would you like to contribute to that, or should we move on to the next question? Move on. Okay. So there are a few questions here that I'm going to read out. So what was the development process for the toolkit? I don't know, maybe Jonathan, you want to take that one on? And there are a few more, but I know you sort of went through. You want to give an overview?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I think that it's one of the things that we feel really proud of in this process is it took quite a while for the toolkit to come together, but that was because we were very keen to ensure that we not only had a variety of organizations with experience, but as I mentioned before, we had the experience of young people and their caregivers and support workers as well. So it's been very much a sort of a collaboration in terms of initially pulling together the sort of academic evidence, the evidence that's out there, and then really trying to ensure that we are getting the sort of realistic picture from the young people and from those organizations, and particularly frontline staff who support them. So it's been quite a long process, but I think ultimately one that results in people being interested in using the toolkit and finding it useful.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm going to move around a little bit. There were some questions that I think came through the chat. So maybe this is for Jonathan too. So the toolbox is very contextualized to Europe. Do you plan to include a look at South and Central America?
We don't plan to expand the toolkit itself as a document, but what we are very keen to do in this coming year is to really pull together the tools and potential adaptations that might be relevant to other regions. So one of the things that that we would like to be doing is to develop a microsite where people from other regions can include their own tools that will be particularly relevant in their contexts, and where we can really kind of understand what adaptations you know are necessary in order to make it useful in those other regions.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'll just add that I think one unique aspect of the toolkit, which Jonathan just mentioned and the panelists have mentioned, is the adaptability of it. While it does have this sort of focus on migration to destination countries in Europe, it is very adaptable. And I'll go back to the dimensions, which I think just run through the experiences of children and young people migrating. Here in the United States, we work with a lot of young people migrating from Central America and South America to the US. Again, there is a great adaptability. And again, the themes, cross over quite well. So I'll just add that. And I think we have time for one more question because we're almost at time. So I'll go with, does the toolbox include care for children and young people on the move in crisis situations? And if anyone wants.
I'll take that on. Yeah, of course. I mean, as we said, it can't be used in a crisis region where someone is still not safe. But the toolkit does, of course, always look at vulnerable people, and minors are always vulnerable, and they have experiences that they have brought with them, and we talked a lot about that, and that they need psychology care, they need a lot of help. They might, as I mentioned, have problems concentration because they keep thinking about their family, their mothers, their fathers. They miss people. They are absolutely not fluent in German when they arrive. They have no idea, have maybe even never seen a school. So there's so many things to consider, and of course that might put someone in a crisis. And of course we were always thinking about how to create a safe environment and the best help.
Right. Thank you, Claire. And thanks again to all the panelists for sharing their experiences and their expertise in the areas they work in. And thank you all for participating. You're really great group. You provided a lot of excellent and thoughtful and relevant questions that are, things we all grapple with. So yeah. So unfortunately, we've run out of time. We have a couple of minutes left, so let's do a little wrap up. And I just want to briefly mention some of the ways in which this conversation will be continued over the coming year. So as Jonathan mentioned at the beginning of the event, we'll continue to deepen and expand on the content of the toolkit and on the topic of integration in the following ways. So first, we will strengthen the exchange of good practice. Face-to-face practice exchanges will take place between organizations in Greece, Italy, Germany, and Bulgaria. This will allow practitioners from the organizations you heard from today and beyond to share and learn from each other in an in-depth way and strengthen their own work, and the toolkit. We'll also be creating a microsite attached to the Family for Every Child's website, which will not only host the current content of the toolkit in a user-friendly, accessible way, but will host a learning series with videos and other materials from practitioners and organizations around the world sharing their best practices and models related to integration of children on the move. And last, I want to encourage you all to join our Caring for Children on the Move community practice on Changemakers for Children. Hopefully you've already joined Changemakers, and you can also join the Caring for Children on the Move community practice section. Through this space, we'll begin a series of discussions on the different dimensions of the toolkit model, where we can discuss each aspect of integration from our own perspectives. And that can include perspectives from different areas of the world. As someone mentioned, about the situation in Central America and in South America. There'll also be events, blogs, and updates, not only in the subject of integration, but on wider issues relating to children on the move. Changemakers for Children itself is a space for local practitioners to come together and connect, collaborate, and communicate, to learn from each other about what's working on the ground, to participate in discussions, solve problems, participate in advocacy initiatives, and engage with and influence the wider sector. If you haven't already, we welcome you all to become active participants in this global digital platform on this topic and others that we discuss. So please visit changemakers4children.community to sign up. We'll post the URL in the chat box now for you to join if you haven't already. And in closing, we're going to launch a final poll, so we'd appreciate your response to that one as well. So please stay on and complete the poll. Again, I'd like to thank our speakers for taking the time to share their work and insights. And to all of you for joining and participating. And thanks for putting in your locations, names, organizations in the chat. That was really helpful to see, and just see people joining from all over the globe. Again, we hope to see you again for another online event. Thank you all.